This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's another casual race after last week's exciting race at Spa-Francorchamps. This time, however, we're not in Belgium, we're in the United Kingdom at Brands Hatch. So a track with a lot of heritage and, of course, which delivers very exciting racing. My name is, of course, Nicolas Hillebrand. Of course, I'm not alone here. I'm joined by Nathan Mifsud and Justin Mifsud, of course, on the broadcast team, and, of course, with our FIA-accredited stewards, George Muscat and Adrian Figallo here. So, what is different to last week? Not all that much, to be honest, because we still have a huge field of 30 GT3 cars. All of the signups were completely filled out, so we are looking forward to 30 minutes of racing action around this classic circuit. This time, however, we have a few more Ferraris on the grid. That is something that I could spy on while they were still practicing before the briefing. People are still in the briefing right now, of course, getting briefed on just the last bits and pieces about this race. Of course, we want everything to go smoothly here. And yeah, everyone's just going to do their best to listen to our very competent stewards, of course. And hopefully we're going to have some good racing action, but I'm very confident that we will. 50 minutes, of course, of practice, 50 minutes of qualifying, and then 30 minutes of race. We saw a lot of Ferraris just now, as I mentioned, and a few Lamborghinis, a couple of Porsches, Lexus, and well, strangely enough, Bentleys as well. So a lot of people are trying to build on, well, the classic car, the British car at the classic and British circuit. Also the only one with right-hand drive here, so that might be something to look out for, especially around the Grand Prix circuit, of course. Everything is just a bunch of right-handers, and yeah. But this casual race is just the beginning. We've got something else lined up, the Sprint Championship from World Pro Racing. 30-minute races, 5 rounds, and a €500 prize pool. There's only 19 spots left, so come over to worldproracing.com and be part of the action. Have your shot at the prize pool. And of course, everyone is welcome here. It's a complete open sign-up, and the sign-up closes on November 9th. So, get your spots before they're completely empty, and make sure you're part of the action. So, of course, we're not here by ourselves. This is, of course, going to get streamed on TVM Sport, ESTV, and Motorsports TV. And, of course, World Pro Racing by itself could not do this. We, of course, have our great sponsors to thank: Gaming Malta, VisitMalta.com, Melita, and HyperX, of course. So, just like, share, subscribe, follow us on the social media, of course, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And once again here, register on worldproracing.com to be part of the action. Just pick up, and whatever skill level you have, if you're just starting out in sim racing, everyone needs a place to start. And what better place to start off than at World Pro Racing? We have lots of events lined up here, and of course, we're still just quickly waiting for the driver briefing to finish, for everyone to head out on track. And it should be any minute now. So there we are already, perfectly on track now with Mr. Jan-Niklas Erbrich with the Tech 1 Racing Lexus. One of the first cars to start a flying lap here, as he comes down at Paddock Hill Bend, one of the most iconic corners in World Motorsport, one would say, with a 1:23 as his fastest lap so far, so we have quite a bunch of calibers here. If someone is watching a couple of other bigger sim racing series, of course, on Assetto Corsa Competizione, Nolla, that should be a name familiar as well, because he is quite familiar around the endurance racing side. Of course, we have Mr. Ruoff here, who we've had in the last race, who was very promising at times, but just couldn't get the final bit of pace together. So in the first 3 spots, we've got 3 different manufacturers, Lexus, Bentley, and Porsche. There we have Jack Nolla with GT Omega RPM Esports. And what a car this is. It's just something unique to see the Bentley, especially with this Union Jack color scheme, just fly around the track now through Sterling's here to go through the last little straight here to come to the Clark curve. The straight here is called Clearways, of course. Here's where the Indy layout rejoins, and there's Clark curve, last corner, and now onto the Brabham straight. It's a very, very short circuit overall, a little bit tight, a little bit narrow, but these GT3 cars, they really like it here. A lot of high speed, and they, of course, are not completely without downforce. Prototypes, of course, have more, but these still have quite a lot of downforce, so you just have generally a quite high amount of speed through this entire lap. Salt Hassani, he had been very fast in the last race, but just like Mr. Ruoff, he couldn't quite counter Thiago Lima's pace in the McLaren. Lima this time in an Aston Martin and in the pit lane, of course, but we see the number 97 Porsche here go through Surtees and now onto the back straight. Now coming to Pilgrim's Drop here, down the hill underneath the bridge, and now to Hawthorne Bend. Down to 4th gear here, just barely not full throttle, just have to lift a little bit and then slowly get back on. Down to 3rd for this one, attack the curb very ferociously around Westfield Bend and now through Sheens, well, not quite Sheens yet, Dingledale, and now through Sheens, quickly up to 4th and then back to 3rd, and that was just a little bit too far, and that was, well, I was about to call out the danger going through that corner. You're so far on the limit here. You're just constantly trying to get the maximum momentum on, try to get everything out of the track limits, but something like that can happen very quickly, as we now have Simon Speth behind one of the Bentleys as well. So Ferrari, Bentley, well, the Bentley overall seems to be the most popular car so far. And, well, the Ferraris, of course, here bigger in numbers as well. But that is a little bit of a hold up there. Speth's trying to go around the Bentley, who lifts off, and maybe that just ruined his chances for a faster run a little bit. 125.0 is his best. His last one was a 125.3. Definitely lost a little bit of time out of that last corner. Now here, Druids, also one of these corners that is quite iconic, as one of the Porsches resets back to pits in the background. Just gonna tune a little bit of the setup to just have that perfect balance in the car. Graham Hill Bend here, and of course now to the Cooper Straight on his way back to Surtees. Not a lot of corners here, but every single one is quite iconic, and that is a bit of a slide there. That is one of the big issues with the Ferrari. If you enter the corner a little bit too quickly, a little bit on edge, and the car can just come around on you there, especially with a corner like Surtees. It's just a little bit off camber, it goes up a hill, it goes... Well, it has a little bit of a crest on the inside, so it's just so difficult to get the car turned in perfectly, especially with one of these mid-engine cars, which are, of course, a little bit more agile with turn-in and just direction changes. But it's this challenge here, getting them settled into a corner. Skentic here with one of the McLarens, the other British car, which was quite dominant yesterday. I would say if the race was yesterday, but it's of course last week. Sorry, viewers. But yeah, he's heading home now through clear race to the Clark curve behind the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari, which is that of Hanus in 8th place. So since Skentic can keep up with him, that should be quite a good sign. Jack Nolla, meanwhile, got it up to P1 123.742 in the Bentley, and the British heritage is really showing through here today. On his way to Hawthorne Bend once again, and the car's just completely settled. Of course, with right-hand drive, it's a little bit easier to get used to the limits of your car on the right-hand side. Of course, very, very helpful in a track that goes clockwise and has a majority of right-hand corners. especially at Paddock Hill Bend, where there's a high curb on the inside. You can just have a bit of better feeling, a bit more precision how close to get to that curb. And especially here as well, Clark Curve, you want to be as far on the inside as possible as he now heads into the pit lane. Just barely gets it stopped very far on the limit though. But here we have Yannick Ruoff in the 297 Porsche with the Can't Be Blank Racing livery. One of the livery edited liveries here. So a lot of people to look out for today. Ruoff now on his way around the last corner as well. Can't quite see at the moment if he's on a fast lap or if he's on an out lap. And I think, yes, it was an out lap, 3:03, so just setting up a banker lap. Some people, of course, are practicing race runs already. Some are practicing quali runs. And that's, of course, different strategies as well. With different cars come different strategies in these areas here, especially around Brands Hatch, where the car balance is playing a lot into things. Luke Whitehead changed from a Mercedes last week to a Lexus this week. Definitely a change that I've seen before in the last couple of weeks, because people just don't quite get the balance right in the Mercedes anymore. And a lot of people are relying on the Lexus, the long wheelbase, that roaring V8 as you hear it coming past the camera here, down to Hawthorne Bend. But yeah, absolutely incredible car, long wheelbase, generally a lot of downforce despite the looks, and of course quite stable. Listen to that onboard sound of that naturally aspirated V8. A bit too high on the gears there, just has to get off there, and now has to get off the throttle a little bit as well, because that Ferrari was sitting right on the apex. But it goes through Sterling's in third gear, of course, up to third gear, up to fourth gear, fifth gear, I mean, and now down to third through that corner, but that could be quicker. But of course, the gearing also differentiates greatly from car to car. Another out lap earlier here, but Luke Whitehead now, of course, on a flying lap as well, as he comes underneath the bridge for Ruiz again, just right behind Ruoff in the Porsche. So already some very well-known names that we have seen here now. And this helicopter camera, you can hear the helicopter in the background, very scenic, the sound design of ACC really shining here. You can hear the flat six of the Porsche just screaming in the left side, and of course now a bit further distance away. And here we go with the Lexus again, and changing now to Sheldon Scott Muscat in the GT Omega RPM Esports Bentley. So, GT Omega RPM Esports building on the Bentley, and definitely seems to be the right strategy, because of course Jack Noller in the first and Muscat now in third. So very good signs here from GT Omega, and of course for Bentley as well. Back to Whitehead in the Lexus here as he comes around this flying lap. Just out of Sterling's and through clearways now, and to the Clark Curve as that Aston Martin lets him through very nicely. Emil Frey, Lexus Racing. Of course, Emil Frey Racing has changed to a Lamborghini now. But last season, of course, 2019, which is the last season which is built into this simulator, it was still a Lexus. Thiago Lima here, actually the man who let Whitehead through so nicely. The last week's winner. So not quite found his pace yet with the Aston Martin. Maybe he's just still trying to find a little bit more security, a little bit more pace. Just overall, or maybe just a bit more balance. And that is not going to help that. He holds it nicely though. But he will reset now because these tires will be a little bit shredded. Umberto Noto in the 504 Bentley. And, well, despite what one other man in a Porsche here says, it seemingly can be blank racing because there is no team name given on the 504 Bentley. Coming around Surtees here behind a couple other cars. And, of course, a little bit slower here. Maybe just out on a banker lap, maybe just out on an out lap, or already on a banker lap, just trying to get a bit more confidence in the car. Of course, you have to build a lot of confidence around this circuit, simply because it's just so incredibly fast. And Yeah, definitely just still probably trying to get a little bit more confidence here. But that is the nice part here with World Pro Racing. We have people from all skill groups. We have beginners, we have pros, we have intermediates. And of course, we have these different classes here as well. White background is a pro, silver is Silver Cup, and red is an amateur. And that, of course, is just from the in-game driver rating. There's Marcus Bergström in the number 102 Lexus, just sliding off the track there, and now changing over to Marco Piardi in yet another Bentley with the number 8 in the Nerd Bentley. Oh, Twitch blew up 90 viewers. So, welcome everyone who joined late. This is, of course, one of our casual races here, the second casual race we are hosting in ACC. I am sadly today for you guys the only commentator, but I will do my best to try and keep this broadcast in high regard. So, yeah, welcome everyone, of course, watching. Welcome to the late entries here. As Erbrich has retaken the lead with a 123.169, so the Lexus definitely not willing to just sit in second place against the Bentley. The two big boys fighting each other, two V8s, but one of them naturally aspirated and one of them turbo. And of course, one of those cars from Japan and the other one from England here. Okay, that was a bit weird. Okay, camera swung around properly now. Yannick Ruoff in his Porsche still. Was a bit confused for a second, and that was a Bentley parked at a very inopportune spot, just on the racing line, I would think. Sergio Mendes with a TPC Sim Racing Ferrari once again here, and that is a color scheme that we see 3 times at once in the same spot. So I think we might have a few other TPC drivers here indeed. But Mendes in 8th place, so second highest placed Ferrari, but highest placed TPC driver so far. Down to second gear here for Surtees, and tries to keep it together, just a little bit bumpy on the exit. It's just such a difficult corner to get right. You can get it right easily once you have that rhythm, but yes, always just a lot of ease involved to make a mistake here, which can just cost you a lot of time. Westfield Bend now a bit further on the outside than most people are taking it, but that outside curb is very forgiving. 4th to 3rd gear, down to 3rd gear again, and unlike what we saw earlier, he keeps it on the track. Down to 3rd gear again. It's always just this little dilly-dally up and down between 3rd and 4th gear around the entire Grand Prix circuit. And now 3rd gear again for Clark Curve as he comes onto the Brabham straight. Start-finish straight, of course, and comes across the line here. And that is a 124.069, so another improvement. Now the top, as I say that, the top Ferrari, but Simon Speth has something to say about that. The number 10 Ferrari just improves a bit as well. Tanel Kazasalu in the number 88 Lexus, now pulling over for a Bentley there. 124.5. Martin Palmay with a GPS ART Ferrari in the number 2. 124.666. So after the 123s in the top couple spots, a lot of people are in the 124s, 125s. So I imagine this will be a quite interesting race once again, because there is just so many opportunities to do battling here. Of course, a lot of slipstreaming, of course, a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing and side-by-side action possible. From personal experience, I can say basically the entire Grand Prix circuit you can take side-by-side with another car. But, of course, it's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of trust in the other car to accomplish that feat. Simon Speth here, the TPC Sim Racing driver. So the Ferraris from TPC Sim Racing in 5th and 7th actually. Sorry about that. The number 10 and the number 24. So Mendes and Speth. Quite good cards so far for them. And I'm just wondering who the third driver is. Maybe it is Martin in 23rd right now. But we will find that out sooner or later. And that is just a little bit of a slide there. But it's as I thought. Michael Martin here in 23rd place right now with the number 26. Just not quite has the line down here. A little bit nervous still. And a bit of with a white line through Surtees. So Michael Martin coming here now over this crest and now down Pilgrim's Drop by himself once again. Maybe he's also on higher fuel, but very late turn-in point there as well. Just a little bit of an odd line. Maybe he's just warming up the tires as well. All different possibilities, of course, as we have these last couple minutes of free practice before we go into qualifying here. And Adam Plywatch here, of course, one of the guys we've seen last week as well, now in an Audi, in the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT livery. And he is currently in 18th place with a 1:24.993, so it definitely is quite close. I would say 7th up to 18th, all within 1 second. So a lot of people just trying to get the last couple bankers out right now before we head into qualifying. Thiago Lima's right ahead of him in position, so last week's victor fighting with the car at the moment in the midfield, so maybe the Aston was not quite the perfect choice, but of course this is one of the things that Assetto Corsa Competizione is quite good at. It's a big variety in cars. You can be competitive with a lot of different cars on tracks, and well, you're always inclined to just try out what car you want to try out next. And now we have another Lexus in the front row right now. Luke Whitehead with the Lexus 123.697, as I saw it, with the number 15. So an AM driver currently in second place. Of course, that's just his driver rating so far, with Assetto Corsa Competizione's built-in driver rating. And that is 123.199, so very hot on the heels of Erbrich. Lexus definitely having a strong showing today, and this will be interesting now if they can continue that in qualifying and of course in the race later as well, as we hear a couple of V10s and flat sixes just in the background. Quickly back to cams here, and once again the reminder, this is just a casual race, but soon after this sign-up time over this week and next week, we will have our sprint championship with a €500 prize pool. 19 spots were still open the last time I still looked, and I really hope that people took my advice and definitely just went and signed up for that, because of course it's going to be a lot of good competition, a lot of good fun. 5 races, 30-minute races, and of course all the variety in the world. It's World Pro Racing. We will have all sorts of drivers in there, and of course it will be live streamed here. So if you want to make yourself seen in sim racing a little bit, feel free to join. And whenever you just feel ready, whenever you just feel comfortable and want to race a little bit, you will always have a place here. So just join the action at worldproracing.com. Thiago Lima, meanwhile, one of the first cars out on track in his Aston Martin, followed by one of the Bentleys already. Oh yes, I'm also getting the reminder right now. There's a minimum of 50 safety rating to join this championship. Of course, this is something to keep the driver experience up to a certain standard, so that we have people for everything there. And yeah, of course, the safety rating you can earn easily by just having races without contact online or even in single player. So just drive close to other cars without having an accident, and you'll have those 50 safety rating points lickety split. Thiago Lima now going on his first flying lap. Not quite optimal because that Bentley just came out of the pit lane, but of course the Bentley has to go somewhere as well. Try to stay out of the way as much as possible. Lima now coming around Druids, now into Graham Hill Bend here. That should be a third or second gear. There it is, second gear corner there. Little bit of oversteer on the exit. Now down the Cooper Straight up to fourth gear just before the braking point, and second gear here. Late apex, but turns in and gets out. Now he goes up on the crest after he comes out of 30s, up to fourth gear. Should be up to fifth gear as he comes down Pilgrim's Drop. Now hard brake for Hawthorne Bend, down to third gear, hard on the outside curb, up to fourth gear once again, and this dilly-dally up and down once again with third and fourth gear. Little misshift down to second there, up to fourth gear again, down to third, for Sheens, and that is very, very close. A little bit of sliding there. Down to second now through Sterling's, and now, of course, the last little straightaway to get back to the circuit, which is shared with the Indy and the Grand Prix layout. Into Clark Curve. Last corner, of course, third gear, and he's trying to get all of the momentum with him. What lap time will it be? What will it be for the first banker here? It is a 1:23.553, so I think he definitely was one of the guys who was still doing some race pace practice in practice. Still holding a couple of cards in his sleeve there, not willing to show all of his aces yet. And Nolla went with a 1:24.0. Yannick Ruoff comes around the last corner as well for his first fast lap. As he comes across the line now, up to second place, 1:23.7. Erbrich is right behind that as well with his Lexus. And now Geglekun Sabo, 1:24.7, so not quite able to go the front runner pace there. Luke Whitehead comes across the line now as well. That is a 1:23.4. That's provisional pole position ahead of Thiago Lima. So Whitehead, quite a big jump. Maybe this Lexus just suits him just a little bit more than Mercedes. That's a heated situation there in Druids, just very, very close as we switch to Sheldon Scott Muscat, who was just in front of that happening there, as he is on his first proper fast lap. Comes around Surtees, close to the inside. And now we have a view again on Erbrich on the Grand Prix circuit. That was quite close there. That's a Bentley rejoining the track. I thought for a second that Porsche had gone off there, but that wasn't the case, luckily. Erbrich, of course, he's not going to be happy. He wants to be let by, but that Porsche might be on a fast lap as well, so Erbrich does get held up a little bit. That's, of course, a little bit frustrating, but that's the risk of qualifying, just getting a little bit more proper clean air, and that wasn't quite possible. But nevertheless, he improves to 1:23.6 up to fourth place. So everyone is pumping out fast lap times right now. And it's very nice to see this mix of livery editor liveries and, of course, real liveries like the Sky Tempesta Ferrari or, of course, the Tech 1 Racing Lexus. Back to Thiago Lima, though. He's actually pulling over just now to go back to the pit lane and have another go at it in a second. And now we have Yannick Ruoff again, someone who we've seen put on quite some pace so far. Last lap was a 1:25.0. That tells me that he got held up or just made a mistake. So the Can't Be Blank Racing Porsche driver, definitely with the will to improve here still, comes around Hawthorne Bend with a quite clean line. I think this could be another fast lap here. Goes quite clean through Westfield Bend, through Dingledale now, and of course now through Sheens. Brakes very far on the outside and very far on the inside on that curb now. Down another gear for Sterling, gets clean through as well for that. So that should be a quite good lap. White flag ahead of him, so there was a slow car ahead of him for a moment, so maybe someone who had just slowed down a little bit, warm up the brakes a little bit more before he starts his lap. But of course, 7th place right now. Where will he improve to? That's 5th place, 1:23.592. So people are really starting to get heated here now. The fastest Ferrari right now up in 3rd place, Simon Speth. And now we have Hans Hanus here, of course, as well. Tempesto Racing Ferrari with that very nice white and pink, blue, purplish livery there with Sky, of course. Hanus in 14th, so not quite able to get all of the pace on the road yet. But we still have a lot of movement through the field. Skensik up into 10th place with his McLaren. And Hanus now through a quite clean entry, but a little bit of uncertainty, I think, into Hawthorne Bend. So that might have cost a little bit of time. Very aggressive on the inside curb of Westfield, though. So just coming through Dingledale once again. Brakes on the very outside there, and not quite as far on the inside as we just saw from Ruoff. But Hanus still very, very aggressive, and now all the cleaner. Very desperate to make up for the time he potentially lost at Hawthorne Bend as he goes through clearways and into Clark Curve now. Comes around the last bend. This last bend onto the final straight, which isn't really a straight to be fair, but of course comes across the line, and 1:24.825 best time and 1:25.6 is his time here so far, so not quite able to match his pace so far, and the pace is just a little bit racking right now. He will not be quite happy with that still, but of course he still has 7 minutes in this qualifying session to go. That might be an invalid lap there as he comes through Greymill Bend just a little bit far on the outside, but he nevertheless carries on, so I think it should still be valid as he comes around Surtees. Now comes over the Pilgrims to drop down to 4th gear probably once again in the Hawthorne Bend. And that was actually quite slow this time, so I think he may just be backing off. Maybe to just practice the pit entry. Just be careful, and the camera once again trying to focus on the wrong car there, because Hanus is still in the Ferrari instead of the Bentley we just saw. Drops another position though now. Sheldon Scott Muscat up to 7th. Nola in 5th, Ruoff in 6th. Mendes, another TPC Sim Racing Ferrari in 8th place, and Yatif in another Bentley in 9th. As we follow Hanus around the circuit once again, so maybe this is his next attempt, and that was a 128, so quite a lot of slowing down there, maybe just trying to build a gap to the front that he's completely clear. We're switching to Gergely Consabo with a 124.231 so far, up to 10th place, so another Lexus that is looking quite strong today, with Tech 1 Racing's livery strapped on it. A nice livery here with a bit of silvery white, matte black, and of course orange. And just barely slower, just barely not able to make that improvement by just over 100th of a second. And stays in 10th place, pulls over, and of course sets back to pits. Marco Piardi, the nerd. Almost sounds like nerd, of course, but NERT, yeah, not NERD. Bentley with the number 8. Bright green, so you can definitely always see that car. Bright green and bright red, accompanied with white, and that is a quite wide line, as opposed to the white stripe on his car. That is completely over the grass and through the gravel, so the Bentley on, well, other racing lines. Thiago Lima in 2nd place now, so Erbrich was able to break through into 1st place here with the 25 Lexus. Thiago Lima still for Phoenix, Portugal with the number 101. Course going to be on another lap, but he sees there, we see it all there. That is a Bentley slowing down to warm up the tires, warm up brakes just before their banker lap. And that of course is something that you don't need right in front of you right now. There's the Bentley just running a little bit wide, and that is just a very, very unfortunate spot to let someone through. That might be invalid there because he went fully into the grass, but Lima might just go for another run. No, he's pulling over there. So quite a lot of frustration, I can imagine. Nebojša Skensik with the McLaren 720S, one of the newest cars in this field. Coming around Sterling's and through clearways now to start another lap as well, or to end a lap. Sadly, it's a little bit non-transparent to see who is on a lap and who isn't on a lap at the moment. However, that was actually quite a fast lap, but it was invalid, I presume. So, fastest lap 124.567, last lap 124.339, so that must have definitely been an invalid lap. Quite easy to do, contrary to belief here, because you're just constantly pushing, of course. On with Hans Hanus once again in 15th place here with his Sky Tempesta Ferrari. Comes through Dingle Dell now, up to Sheens. A lot more aggressive on the inside curb this time, and seemingly carries a lot more speed than we saw from him the last time the camera was on him. A little bit wide, but it should still... No, I think he's backing off a bit more now. But of course, he can't quite back off a lot there, because a lot of traffic in front and to the back of him. Itamar Yatif for Team Parker Racing's Bentley here, number 137 in 9th place here. So the Bentleys showing a quite strong showing here in 4th, 7th and 9th place. So 3 Bentleys in the top 10, 3 Lexi in the top 10 as well in 1st, 3rd and 10th. 1 Porsche, 1 Aston Martin and 2 Ferraris. So overall, I think it is 5 brands. Yes, it should be 5 brands in the top 10. Which is overall quite promising already. And of course, right outside the top 10, we have the McLaren already. And not to mention even Plywedge and Ryler there in the 2 Audis that are following soon after there. Gergely Sabo, though, here runs quite wide and now comes to a stop again as well. He seems to have a knack of catching people when they're just abandoning their laps. As we now count down the last 1 minute and 35 seconds of this qualifying session. People will try to get out their last banker here. If people exit the pits now and just hurry up, they might still be able to put a lap in. Someone to challenge Jan-Niklas Erbrich in his Tech 1 Racing Lexus. And it seems that he's very desperate to go and challenge his own lap time one more time as well. So Erbrich coming around Dingledale and Sheens, and now into Sterling's as well. Quite aggressive line here. Oh, and that is a lot of early upshifts. I think he might be going into the pits. Yes, that should be a way into the pits here. So, Erbrich done with the session. But Whitehead is still on track. Lexus in 3rd place. Is he going to try and make it a Lexus first row by absolute purity? Are we going to see the Japanese manufacturer completely occupy the front spots? A little bit slow out of that, I feel, but that should still be quite decent. Takes a lot of the curb on the outside, so carries a lot of momentum. Yellow flag is being waved, so a car was just stopped there to reset back to pits. And a lot of curb on the inside there. Very far on the outside and a little bit of net code there, I think. Goes over the line and he isn't quite able to improve yet. 3/10 missing, and I fear that is qualifying over for Luke Whitehead as well. A lot of people have already parked the car, so we're just waiting for the last 3-minute 45 timer for everyone to finish their laps. And that is qualifying over. Lexus, quite strong showing. Bentley, quite strong showing. And of course, Ferrari there with the 2 TPC sim racing cars. Now it all comes down to a 30-minute race. It's going to be, of course, a rolling start. So the Lexus with an NA engine with immediate power response, that might be something where it's quite strong. And this might be where the Lexus could get the jump on all of the turbo cars around it. But the Porsche as well. The Porsche of Ruoff in the top 10, of course, in a very good position here. But how will that play out? Of course, the Porsche very susceptible to changing balance throughout the entire race. In a normal car, of course, the fuel tank is in the middle or in the back, just mid-back region generally, of course. And in the Porsche here, in the GT3R, it is in the front. So the less fuel you have, the less weight you have on the front. And you definitely want a little bit of weight on the front axle all the time to have some more grip. But we will see how it plays out. Of course, if you like this action so far, feel free to register and visit us on worldproracing.com. Once again, a reminder for the championship. I still don't know if there are actually any places left. I hope that there aren't already, because that would mean that I'm doing my job of advertising it properly. But yeah, it's much like this, 30-minute races, a little bit of preparation time, and of course, qualifying right beforehand. 30 spots overall as well, so a lot of fun. And of course, this €500 prize pool for 5 races. Overall, 2.5 hours of race duration, and to get the possibility to get a part of that €500 prize pool, that alone is already worth it. But what's even more worth it, to just take part in this. Of course, everyone can be signing up to this. The only requirement is a 50 safety rating. And that is quite easy to achieve here. So get started with ACC if you like this racing here. Get started with it, sign up to World Pro Racing, and keep on the lookout for some more events besides, of course, this championship as well. Because like today, we have, of course, these casual races, which can, of course, get a lot more like we have with R Factor 2 or, of course, Gran Turismo Sport. Just waiting for the last couple minutes here. 9 slots available still, I see. So 10 people already signed up since we started this stream. A lot of people very, very keen on some prize money, of course, but I think many people are also just keen on the racing. And I just realized also that I'm saying, of course, a lot. But yeah, mentioning the broadcast stations as well now. Once again, this is not only just on Twitch, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. This is, of course, also on TVM Sport, ESTV, and Motorsports TV. So, quite good showing overall. Now we're waiting here at Clearways for the formation laps to start. 30 minutes of racing action. We hear the engines starting to roar. Erbrich on the inside, Lima on the outside, Whitehead right behind that, Nolla in 4th, Speth in 5th, Roth in 6th, Muscat in 7th, Mendes in 8th, Yatif in 9th, and Kunsabo in 10th. It's basically half and half with naturally aspirated versus turbo engines. Who will have the upper hand? We will see in just a few moments as they come closer and closer to the line. Everyone's trying to stay, of course, into their designated spot to not get a penalty. And Lima seems to be doing that a lot better there. Green light, of course. But there's the turbo that's kicking in just at the end of that acceleration. But Erbrich could get the jump on Lima there. Leaves barely a little bit of space there. And Lima now looking for the inside. 3 wide almost into turn 2. Very, very aggressive defense there from Erbrich. Very aggressive offense from Whitehead. But Nolla, of course, looking for the outside as well. In the midfield, you have, however, a big collision there. Kunsabo, definitely not the start he was looking for. And that is more contact and more contact and more contact coming out of Druids there. So that was a lot of crashes there. We just see the replay here. And that is, I think, Kunsabo just a little bit too conservative on the start. That is the spin from the McLaren ahead of him as well. So, very much so getting upset. Looking on the inside. Oh, that was very unfortunate. So, car looking on the inside, trying to force the way along. Audi gets spun in the background as well, and just nothing he could have done there. From the first spin, he was just a passenger and could just keep going after all of that had cleared. Erbrich, however, at the front, trying to start building a gap to Lima, and Lima, meanwhile, has to focus on defending as well because Whitehead's Lexus is breathing down his neck. That huge grill of a Lexus in the rearview mirror of Lima, and right behind that, of course, is Nolla already as well. Roth in the Porsche was able to gain a position as well. 5th place, and a little bit further behind, but nevertheless still quite close. So if people start battling hard, you will be able to gain time immediately. Right behind that, we have Speth and Muscat fighting. Yatif right behind that. And Mendes and Kasisalu in another Lexus. So Lexus, like the Hydra, cut off one head and another will grow. Normally it would be 2 more heads, but we don't have that many Lexuses in the top positions right now. So Casasalo here in 10th, no, 11th actually, because we have Ryder, who actually had a phenomenal start from 15th up to 10th place now. So trying to make the V10 in that Audi proud, and that was actually a bad exit from Mendes, who's now dropping down places. So Mendes losing quite a few positions there. Palmai taking the spot of his Ferrari colleague, but we cut back to the lead here. Erbrich coming through, Sheens making his way to Sterling's, and this top 4 group, I think we're going to see a lot more of battling from them. All of them so close together, all of them just outside of striking range from each other, but still within slipstream range. So they will have quite a lot of struggle going on, I think. They will have this struggle. They have higher straight line speed, of course, but they will have a little bit of dirty air, and these corners, this GP circuit, these third gear corners, there's still enough speed to have an effect with dirty air. And that is Mendes now here. Mendes in 12th place. He lost out a little bit, but he has enough pace, of course, since he was further ahead. He has enough pace to keep up with the cars ahead of him. Erbrich now making another way through Graham Bend. I think this should be lap 3 by now already, so these laps are just flying by. Very short lap, very action-packed lap. You don't really get a breather in this situation or in any situation with these races. On board now with Jack Nolla in the humongous Bentley. most Europeans and most Americans watching here will think, why is the steering wheel on this side? Well, it's a Bentley, it's British to the core, right-hand drive, and going very aggressive over the inside curve there. You can see the 3 cars ahead, Jack Noller's vision fixated on them. Absolutely focused in, and that's a little bit wide. That's maybe even touching the grass a little bit, but he keeps it steady, just keeps it properly on the track. Down to second gear for Sterling's and on the way to clearways, but he's slowly losing touch with the top 3 through that little muck up there. Just very unfortunate there, and that is just the crucial thing here. Keep in the rhythm, don't make a mistake, and that is easier said than done. Casisalu went up to 9th place in the meantime. Got past one of the Ferraris, or someone else dropped down, I think. So we're just having the renewed positions, and I think that it was Ryler we lost there. Yes, there was Ryler in the Audi that went down to, well, 15th, 16th, 17th. He keeps on dropping, so he must have stopped somewhere, or must have had a spin or something of the sort. Now back to Thiago Lima, this front battle, we are constantly fixated on this. Lima almost within striking range, almost within that overtaking spot, and now down Pilgrim's drop. There's a lot of straight line speed and a lot of overspeed coming. Just get a bit of a better run through Hawthorne Bend and through Westfield Bend. Just try and stay on edge, try to get as much momentum out of that car as possible. Just so difficult to just constantly follow another car here. You have that instinct to look a little bit down the inside all the time, but do that a bit too much, and of course the track will chew and spit you out. Lima now getting a little bit closer. And yes, that should be Ryler in the pit lane there with his black and green Audi, so definitely some damage to that car. Probably had an off there with his fastest lap so far as well, Thiago Lima, 23.778, so faster than some of the guys further down the order in qualifying so far. Quite a lot of action going on here, and he's so close now under braking. Casisalu moving up to 8th place now. Palmai and Mendes fighting behind. Meanwhile, Mendes looking down the inside for Druids. Is he going to be able to make that move? No, not quite. A bit too early on the brakes, and that is Casisalu messing up the braking a little bit and letting the Ferraris get ever so closer once again. Whitehead falling away a little bit as well. Mendes now past Palmai, so done well from him there in his recovery drive after he had that little bit of a mess up there. Casisalu getting a little bit away from the battling Ferraris. Right behind that is Hanos with the Sky Tempesta Ferrari. So if you don't like Ferraris, it's not just 2 but 3 now fighting for the last couple spots in the top 10. And Sanos, of course, needs to close in a little bit more. Last lap was the fast, no, not quite the fastest, 125.8 his last lap, 125.1 his fastest lap, but nevertheless he's getting closer to Palmai just now. Palmai running a little bit wide, and once again the battle at the front getting ever so closer here. Erbrich trying to get away from Lima, and Lima trying to get closer to Erbrich. Look at how close they are. Is he gonna look to in the inside? No, not quite. And Erbrich looks for a very early turn-in for that braking already. Very hard on the defense, but trying to not lose time in the middle of it, because of course Whitehead falls behind a little bit. We have that nice rear view. We can barely see the Aston Martin. There we are. It's having a nice little peak between the holders for the rear wing and just underneath that huge rear wing on the Lexus. And that is naturally aspirated power out of Surtees. Now Hawthorne Bend, and it just seems that Lima just seems to have a little bit of an edge sometimes when it comes through corners and rhythm, but now the rhythm is lost there. Whitehead gets a lot closer. Nola runs a little bit wide back there and loses touch a little bit more even, but Whitehead there. Whitehead right on the tail of Lima, and we can see some tire marks there, so maybe that's what happened to one of the Audis earlier. Audi, one of the difficult cars to drive, of course, with a lot of oversteer. Whitehead lost a bit of touch more again, or should I say Erbrich lost a bit of touch, because overall Whitehead and Lima closed a bit of that gap once again. So, we have another battle back here. Casasalu now against Sergio Mendes. Mendes moves ahead under braking, but runs a bit wide. Has that humongous Lexus on the inside, but can the Lexus keep up the speed? No, the Ferrari just has great momentum, gets past for 8th place. Very well done, Sergio Mendes. And next up, right behind Casasalu, is Hanus. Hanus in the Sky Tempesta Ferrari, just looking to make another place up. Not quite there yet, but already letting Casasalu know, hello, I'm here, and I'm ready to look for a move. Bit wide line from Casasalu there as well. It's difficult to get that Lexus turned in. Cause a lot of weight on the front axle, but just generally this car is a bit more understeery than oversteery. Hanus, of course, now over these bumps. Quite difficult here, of course. Ferrari very upset over bumps. And Hanus now looking for the bit of the inside. That's what I've said with this instinct to look for the inside. Cut the grass a little bit much there, so the car instantly started bouncing. He almost got spit out by the track, but he managed to hold on. Erbrich got a bit more clean air now, but Lima still within striking range. Whitehead not too far behind either. There's a Ferrari that I think would be a lap down of that. And I'm actually just noticing we have lost Simon Speth from the front runners, so something must have happened there. Already some back markers inside, of course, and Hans Hanus once again here with the Sky Tempesta Ferrari number 93, looking to make a move to Casasalu, but not quite getting the rhythm through Paddock Hill Bend. Falls behind a little bit. But Casasalu also, with a very late braking maneuver, runs wide, allows Hanus to catch back up, and Palmay is not too far behind. Piardi, I think, with the Bentley is right behind that as well. And there we are with Speth in 13th, right behind Piardi. So, very unfortunate for Speth, who seems to have lost a lot of positions, but it seems to be a recovery drive for all of the TPC sim racing cars today. Meanwhile, on the Bentley, another car with a humongous rear wing on the rear end, and Marco Piardi braking a little bit on the grass there, taking a bit of a wider line, has to take the corner a bit slower, and Simon Speth likes to see that. Simon Speth would like to know your location, Piardi, and now looking to make a move, of course, once he gets close enough. Once again, just barely looking on the outside now into Sterling's. That's a lot of courage there and a lot of trust that Piardi won't make a mistake there, but they're side by side now, almost touching into Clark Curve, and he gets the move done. Right place, right time, enough courage and enough trust. Very well done from him there. Very good move. One of the Lexi moving over to the inside now, to the left side of the circuit, to let the leaders pass. And the top three are quite close together once again. Erbrich trying to break away from Lima, and Lima trying to break away from Whitehead, and Whitehead is right there in the slipstream now. Trying to look further. You can see him just always being able to see the other Lexus past that Aston Martin. Again and again, and Sheldon Scott Muscat now on the outside of Yatif here. Just not quite able to make a move yet, but look at that, looking down the inside now for Dingledale into Sheens now, and that is once again a very close one, and that is just a bit too close for Sheldon Scott Muscat. So a lot of momentum lost there through Sterling's. That is, of course, the risk. You try to do an attack, you mess up your rhythm, and for the next couple of corners, you're going to lose more and more time because you just have to keep that rhythm, that momentum up. Lima now quite close to Erbrich again. Whitehead right behind him. All of them very close together as we're almost approaching the halfway mark. Nola looking a bit further behind, but he's just laying there in wait. If someone here makes a bigger mess up, they will instantly be in the clutches of Jack Nola. And we have Casasalu now fighting for P11 with Simon Speth and Piardi. Piardi, of course, trying to do his best to get past Speth again and maybe even get Casisalu as well, but right now we focus again on Whitehead, right close to the back of that Aston Martin. A bit further inside, a bit early on the throttle, hard on the brakes, down to second gear, maybe third gear, depending on the car. Not quite able to make a move yet. Heading down the Brabham straight with Michael Martin here, the third TPC Sim Racing Ferrari, done in 20 seconds, just in his own little bubble there and getting more used to the circuit. And where we left off with one TPC Sim Racing Ferrari, we have another one in the picture in form of Simon Speth behind Casisalu, trying to defend his 11th place, and Speth, Casisalu, they seem to have dropped Piardi for now. So no pressure from behind. Simon Speth can completely focus on attacking now. But maybe there wasn't enough focus there coming into Paddock Hill Bend. Runs a little bit wide, a bit late on the turn-in, or just a bit bad weight shift with the braking, and immediately the Ferrari will say, I'm sorry, but I will not do my job right now. Umberto Noto, meanwhile, with a 504. Thank you, Giago. Thank you for that message. But yeah, Noto heading into the pit lane with what seemed to be a quite broken car, and that was very close for Thiago Lima. That was a Porsche in the gravel there, and that is even closer. Keeps it out of the wall, and left and right and center. Loses out everything, and just as I said earlier, I think that might have been commentator's curse now. Jack Nolla making it past Thiago Lima, who had that mistake there. Not what you want at this stage in the race. But Erbrich will be laughing into his fists right now, if he's not too busy having both of his hands on the wheel. He is quite home safe for now, but of course Whitehead is right behind him. And Nolla is right behind that man as well. Meanwhile, we have a Ferrari 8, 9 and 10. Mendes, Ramos and Palmai. All of them quite desperate to make a move here, and well, we have Simon Speth trying to make it a Ferrari quartet, which doesn't seem to work just yet. However, he is still right on the attack. Coming out of Grahamville Bend, gets better momentum here now behind Casisalu, looks down the inside for Surtees, and gets it done so far, but there's the over and under here from the Lexus, and the Lexus now on the straight. This is a force to be reckoned with. Can Speth hold the inside? Can he just keep up with the speed of the Lexus? Can the Lexus hang around the outside for Hawthorne Bend? And that was a bit of contact. So quite tricky there. Now going through Westfield Bend and of course Dingledale. Focus back to Luke Whitehead quickly to Jack Nolla. And constantly jumping in between the battle for the top 3 and for the top 3 outside of the top 10. Simon Speth now completely clear here, but Casisalu not in the clear whatsoever, because now there is Piardi and of course Kunsabo, who are both lusting after his position. Christopher Ligristen in the Fricadelli Racing Porsche, now letting by the 297 Porsche of Ruoff in 7th place. And that is Mendes trying to make his way through, which didn't quite work as planned, I think. Because just running a little bit wide there, rejoining the circuit, and of course you have to try and stay clear when people are lapping you. Of course it is the responsibility of the faster car to unlap itself safely, but you have to stay predictable, and that was just a moment, an extreme moment here, where Ligristen just had the car in a bit of a pickle and couldn't quite get the jar open. Jack Nolla now trying to defend his 3rd place. Lima is not quite in striking range yet, but of course Nolla wants to get this P3 home in his Bentley. for GT Omega RPM Esports here at Brands Hatch. And look how close, just how close that Aston Martin is getting into that corner. Thiago Lima right on the back of Jack Nolla. And Nolla is definitely going to be sweating buckets in that Bentley. Luckily he is very well equipped with a car to handle water. But Lima, nevertheless, he's just looking to make that sweat increase more and more. Just under brakes he's gaining a little bit, but that last little bit of momentum is just always with the Bentley. Maybe the gearing just suits this car a bit better. Maybe the long wheelbase suits this a little bit better. But here on the braking for Sheens, the Aston really shines. Average, meanwhile, he's having a quite relaxed drive right now. Quite clean in the open. 10 minutes, 20 seconds left. And he is making it look easy so far. Just completely unopposed ever since Lima had his excursion at the exit of Sterling's. Eitamar Yatif now still defending from Sheldon Scott Muscat, even though Muscat has dropped back a little bit, and they're also coming up on traffic. So this will also be the last bit here. These position fights can of course be affected by back markers, and of course on this short circuit you can be affected by these back markers quite easily. Right, Vakröm now getting lapped, I think. Yes, indeed, that is Erbrich going past. So one Lexus helping out the other, and I think that's actually quite a bit of front-end damage that Vakröm has in front of that as well. And meanwhile we have Jack Nolla gaining a little bit of time, just a little bit, on Luke Whitehead as well, while being chased by Thiago Lima. Going through Sterling's once again, and the gap is quite steady so far. But of course there's another bit of traffic ahead. Get that traffic in the wrong spot, and of course they can't always pull over perfectly. You will lose time sometimes. And that might have just lost some time for Luke Whitehead, because that was definitely on the grass on the outside. And that is just not the spot where you want to be led by, but gets it sorted decently. So I think that was, yeah, that was still Vakröm letting them through. So it looked like a quite feisty situation, but it turned out to be quite all right. Martin Palmay, the last Ferrari in the top 10, now going to be challenged by the last Ferrari in our quartet of Ferraris here. All depends though if Speth can close this gap in these last couple minutes. It's just 5, maybe 6 if they're very fast laps left. Time definitely flies here. 8 minutes, so it could be 5-6 laps. There we are. Left over. Sheldon Scott Muscat trying to make it count in these last minutes. Every second counts for him. He is gaining a little bit through here. That is just a bit too much, and once again just carries a bit too much speed into the Westfield Bend. And now runs into danger from behind, but not quite, because that is a back marker. Just got excited there for a second. But the next car behind him is of course Roast Porsche, which is nowhere to be seen right now, luckily for him. Nolla and Lima, of course, still in 3rd and 4th place. Lost a little bit of time to Whitehead in front, and that is going to be good news for Whitehead and of course for Lexus. We're looking at a 1-2 right now. Lima just continuously checking, can I maybe get a move done? Last lap of his was a second slower than his personal best, and this could definitely be because he's just getting held up a little bit in the crucial areas. Thiago Lima just trying to make himself known in the rearview mirror a little bit, looking to the inside, outside, left, right, left, right. You can see the two waving each other off. And of course, the race will be waved off in 6 minutes and 30 seconds by the flagman at the start-finish straight. But until then, it's still free hunting for either of those two. Lima getting closer once again. That is quite close to Nola now. Can Nola keep up? Can Nola just get this car home on the podium? It would be a very welcome result for him. Everyone gained a position so far except for Lima, who lost 2. And of course except for Erbrich, who has kept his lead solidly through this entire race. 5 minutes 50 seconds. It just keeps ticking down and down and down. Skensik coming around Hawthorne Bend, right behind Reboldi, the 5th Ferrari that we have in these standings here. And they're right behind a back marker there as well. Back marker should be Ligreston. I think that is the livery that we're seeing there. And of course, this will not be optimal for Reboldi. Reboldi will definitely want Skensik off his back end, but he can't quite do that when the back marker is still there. Now it's out of the way, but Skensik, he's definitely gained quite a bit there. Now within slipstream range, down Brabham straight. But that Ferrari seems to be running a little bit less downforce. It definitely is pulling a little bit of a gap there. So once again, a nice little battle here. We had that at Spa. High downforce versus low downforce. What do you want here? You have quite a few straights at this circuit. So do you want to make it count on the straights, or do you want to make it count on the corners for aerodynamic grip? Either way, Skensik is checking at the moment, where can I make the move? Just goes a bit deep for Surtees. Comes out of the corner, now quite close behind Reboldi. But look at that Ferrari just pull away ever so slightly. On the brakes, gets a bit closer though. Look at that, closes the gap a little bit more even. Comes in a little bit more. This is just definitely the strong point, it seems, of the McLaren. The McLaren, of course, one of the cars with great speed in corners, and that is... What was that? That was definitely an incident, and that was contact between Lima and Jack Nola. So, Lima being a gentleman there, definitely nice to see some good and fair racing between the two, as Nola is back under attack now. So there was contact. Nola was slower in that corner than Lima had anticipated. A bit of a punt. Almost sent him around. And Lima definitely just wanting to finish this fight fairly. Slowed down and said, mate, go back through. I want to have this fight to the end. I want to have this on the limit between two of us gentlemen. Now the Ferraris fighting each other. Simon Speth getting past Palmite for the last top 10 spot. So the last two Ferrari quartet drivers switching positions quickly. Speth having done quite a nice recovery from the disastrous start he had made. And it seems that also for top 10 positions we changed out one Lexus for one Ferrari, so we have 2 Lexus in the top 10, 3 Ferraris, 3 Bentleys, 1 Aston and 1 Porsche. Jack Nola still on the defense against Thiago Lima. Lima looking for the outside of Surtees, maybe looking for an over-under here. But Nola, he just blocks the exit perfectly, parks on the exit and now accelerates hard again. Out of Hawthorne Bend. Look at them being so close to each other, once again covering off the inside. He knows that he wants to make that move there. He wants that he wants to get alongside, and now he is alongside. He has a bit of overlap, and that is a very hard move there, and I think that might have to be looked at, because I think that was still alongside there. Through Dingledale, and that was not quite far enough back in the replay, but we saw that on board with Thiago Lima, through Dingledale getting alongside, and then for breaking into Sheens. Well, difficult situation there. Of course, you want to make the move at some point, as we see Simon Speth go through that corner and go off a little bit. Yannick Ruoff making his way through as well. And now down to 8th though, so Mendes battling with him. And where has Mendes gone? Has he gone past a bit early already, or? Yeah, I think Mendes has just up and left. So the Ferrari quartet got separated again, but in a way that Mendes would like it very much, I can imagine. So Mendes up to 7th place, Ruoff down to 8th, and I think that might also be the changing balance of the Porsche that sets in, because he now has less fuel, that is less weight on the front axle, and of course that's not quite what you want on the Porsche, because it understeers enough. What you want is less understeer, not more. Speth still holding on to his 10th place quite solidly, as we now have the last 36 seconds. But Erbrich is already here at the line, 30 seconds left. So we're going to do another lap, just for good measure here. Erbrich, of course, he has to nurse the car around another lap. There we hear Gergo once again informing us about the final lap. Well, what can you say other than a flawless performance so far of Erbrich? Bit of a scare at the start, was a little bit far back in his starting position, but that Lexus naturally aspirated V8 power was able to pull him alongside for turn 1 and stay ahead. 2-3 attacks from Lima before he made a mistake, and then he was home clear. Ruoff now, oh, that is a lot of backmarkers actually slowing down there as well. So Ruoff and Hanos trying to find their way through the backmarker field, just to have a bit of clean air, just to get their fight over with. And there's Erbrich and Whitehead also completely by themselves, and that was a bit close for comfort. Jan-Niklas Erbrich, please don't throw it away now, just in the last lap when the clock has already ticked away its last second. And that would be quite an annoyance if he had thrown away that win like that, because Whitebeard, of course, Whitehead, not Whitebeard, sorry, Whitehead still within striking range if, in case the spin would happen. But nothing of that sort happens. Perfect race, perfect finish. Lexus wins here with the number 25 of Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Luke Whitehead gets home the 2nd place finish. Thiago Lima rescues a 3rd place with the damage reduction drive after his mistake. Nola falls back to 4th place, but I think he will still be happy with that result. Itama Yatif in the Team Parker Racing 137 Bentley gets the 2nd Bentley across the line in 5th place. Sheldon Scott Muscat for GT Omega RPM Esports in 6th place. Completes the Bentley triplets in the top 10. Next up we will have Sergio Mendes in 7th place, Yannick Ruoff in 8th place, and Hanos and Speth and Palmay as the next 3 Ferraris. But what a drive from this man here, Jan-Niklas Erbrich. This time we got to finish the race properly. So no game glitch today. We all got to finish the race properly. Got to see them cross the line. And of course, he's going to be very happy in this car. Jan-Niklas Erbrich here, just completing his victory lap to go back to the pit lane. Of course, always the nicest feeling to just have a nice little cool down lap. And of course, this is something that you look forward to when you have performed quite nicely in your race. I think we just have a few people getting these top 3 drivers into the booth here. Of course, we have to wait for that. But either way, this was quite an exciting race. Thank you very much, everyone who is watching, of course. Thank you for your patronage, not just on YouTube, Facebook or Twitch, but also on TVM Sport, ESTV and Motorsport TV. And I think we are getting some of our drivers in here. Whitehead, P2 with the Lexus. How are you feeling?
I'm absolutely over the moon. I'm really happy. I've only really started playing this sim recently. I've only had it a couple of weeks, this platform anyway. But yeah, I'm over the moon. Scratty, I couldn't really do much more with my pace. I was stuck behind Thiago for quite a while and just couldn't get past him. This track can't really overtake. And then once, of course, we got past him, picked up a rear puncture. very slow puncture, but just couldn't do anything more. But regardless, really happy. A lot of positives to take. But yeah, on to the next one.
Right, thank you very much. Of course, very nice to have a success early on when you're just starting with a platform. Thiago Lima, very good recovery from that mistake out of Sterling's. Did you think it was all over, or did you just have an even stronger determination to make it back up onto the podium?
Yeah, first of all, good night to you all. I mean, it was a mistake that I was not expecting to do, but I picked up a small puncture from that, but I was determined, yes, to try to recover from that mistake.
Very good drive, of course, and constantly on the back of Jack Noller there, even letting him by with that little contact. So a very chivalrous gesture, very nice gentlemanly racing going on there.
Yeah, we were both struggling with tires, especially me with fronts. I don't know about him, but I saw that he was struggling, so I was trying to keep up with him. So I could make a move. The move of the overtake was a bit... Yeah, but this track, like Whitehead said, it's really hard to overtake. It's if you put the car on the right place, people can't overtake. So you really need to try.
All about positioning, of course, but the tires were the big killers here. But someone who just couldn't be slowed down by anything, our winner today, Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Welcome here. Congratulations to your win and fantastic performance from you today.
Hello, thank you.
So overall, how easy or how difficult was it for you? Overall, you seem to be in control, but did you have tire struggles like the other two podium finishers, or was it all more okay for you?
The good thing was, I think it was the first race in my practice, where I did not have tire pressure issues, so everything was fine. But the pressure from Lima was so big. Every time in the first laps, when I did the fastest lap of the session, I thought, yeah, nice, I'm gonna get away from him. But then he just gets even better and just almost overtakes me.
Could certainly see a lot of pressure applied there, but very good defense there. The defense was under hard bombardment, but it didn't crack. And in the end, the offense cracked instead in that very unfortunate mistake there. But either way, fantastic driving from you three. Very well done, of course. And do you three have any shout-outs to make? Do you want to make a shout-out to family, friends, or sponsors, or maybe your teams? Whoever wants first.
Yes, I want to shout out to my girlfriend who's watching right now. My family and a good friend of mine who's also watching right now.
Very good to have friends backing. Thiago, do you want to shout out for anyone?
Just again, thanks for all the effort you guys have.
Yeah, thanks.
All this possible. It wouldn't be possible without your effort.
Always welcome, of course. It's always a lot of fun to see you guys race. And Luke, do you have any shout-outs to make?
Yeah, again, thank you to you guys as well. The racing, I've raced in quite a few championships. It's honestly the best. It's the cleanest. It's the best run. Massive compliments to everyone. And just like to shout out to my manager, Robert Watherston. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant at what he does. He's helped me so much recently. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Of course, this was a casual race, but we would welcome, of course, every single driver from this race here into this championship, into the sprint championship that starts soon with a €500 prize pool. So if you guys aren't signed up yet, now might be the time if there are still spots left. And of course, then we will just close this here. Thanks again to our sponsors, HyperX, Gaming Malta, Visit Malta.com, and Melita. Of course, this was also broadcasted on TVM Sport, ESTV, Motorsports TV. And this, of course, was all shown through our social media. Follow World Pro Racing on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and be on the news for everything. Sign up, of course, as well. Join us here if you just liked what you saw. And with that, for today, we shall close and say we hope to see you next time. My name was Nicolas Hillebrand. Of course, I was joined here in the broadcast booth by Justin and Nathan Mifsud. George Muscat and Adrian Figallo were our FIA accredited stewards, and thank you very much for watching.
This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.